The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a brand adventure game that capitalized on the achievements of its hugely successful predecessor, Breath of the Wild. Doing a blind playthrough myself, I was absolutely blown away by what Nintendo put together on hardware that was 6 years old at the time of release. The silent protagonist and limited interaction in cutscenes allow players to fill in the details with their imaginations to create powerful moments and fan art mediums. The new Zonai powers, notably Fusion, Ascend, Create, and Recall, grant freedom of creativity to players to decide how they want to tackle the various challenges of the game. Admittedly though, I was hardly an engineer in my playthrough, opting more for the good old-fashioned sword and bow type of run. But seeing how I barely scratched the surface, I look forward to revisiting Tears of the Kingdom sometime in the future. However, this game does not work as a sequel to Breath of the Wild.
This guy stinks!
First, the monsters. All of a sudden, a lot of the monsters, specifically the bokoblins and moblins, have new appendages growing out of their heads.
Man, give me the paps.
I can forgive the appearances of new monsters not seen in Hyrule, even the developers encouraging players to experiment with their new fusion mechanic, but how do you explain this in terms of lore compared to that first game? Tragic thing is, you could easily explain this along with the upheaval, unlike my next point. Point number 2, religion. The shrines in Breath of the Wild were created as a result of the meditations of the Sheikah monks. This is actually a real-life example, or reference, to Shuko Shinbutsu, a sect of Shingon Buddhism. The practice consisted of depriving the body of food and water while meditating and chanting mantras to the point of self-mummification. In Breath of the Wild, this practice was dedicated to the goddess Hylia, who in turn granted them a power to bestow upon the one who could best their unique challenge. In Tears of the Kingdom, the whole concept of self-sacrifice to a higher power was thrown out the window. Literally, where'd all the Sheikah shrines go? No answer? Okay, fine. In their place are blessings from Rauru and Sonia that have the exact same effect. Are we replacing the dedication of everyday monks for the unlimited blessings of the monarch? Yeah, checks out. Which brings me to my next point. Longtime Zelda fans know the universe has 3 main goddesses: Din, Nehru, Faelor. Farlor. 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 Faror. Farori, who created the entire world of Hyrule and the all too iconic Triforce. A bit of a side note, the Triforce was originally adapted from the Hojo samurai clan that ruled Japan in the 13th century. Perhaps another story for another time. The critical point of Zelda's character development in Breath of the Wild was that she was finally able to summon the power of the Triforce, the power of her bloodline, to save Link from death. Point number 3, Zelda's power, or lack thereof. Zelda's character arc in Tears of the Kingdom was absolutely beautiful. I felt Zelda's longing for a mother and her heart finally being fulfilled in the character of Queen Sonia, who comforted her and mentored her the way only a mother knows how. Then the sacrifice she made to the future literally had me screaming at my TV and damn near weeping for her loss when I had to go to sleep that night. So you mean to tell me none of the powers of the Triforce Zelda learned only a few years ago are nowhere to be seen a few years later in Tears of the Kingdom? Instead, she starts from ground zero, powerless, then granted the title of Sage of Time by the power she learned from Queen Sonia. But wait a minute, if Sonia's the teacher, why isn't she the Sage of Time? Oh, right. Anyways, in the fight against the Demon King with King Rauru and the rest of the chosen sages, what was the Sage of Time supposed to do? Like, everyone else is armed, ready to rock, and poor Zelda just looks lost. This felt like the ladies' charge in Avengers Endgame. Like, Mantis, what are you doing here, boo-boo? You're not a fire. Get your photo up and get out of the scene before you get hurt. And Zelda, you can do some damage with the power of the Triforce. But since you don't, apparently, you're a liability. Get your photo up and get out of the scene before you get hurt. Point number 4, familial ties. As I mentioned earlier, King Rauru and Queen Sonia were clearly written to be the parents that Zelda always needed, especially a mother in Queen Sonia. But wait a minute, wasn't Urbosa supposed to be Zelda's mother figure? Then, if these two are the first monarchs of Hyrule from an unbroken lineage, where is their heir?
What is that?
Bruh, look at this dude. No, 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 no.
And where the heck was this green Lombax when his inheritance was being threatened? One could say if the Prince of Hyrule played a major role in this game, he could have taken the spotlight from the metaphorical prince, Link, the knight who will become the next king of Hyrule by marrying the Princess Zelda. Furthermore, I absolutely adore the Zelda relationship in this game! Speaking of King Rauru, no, you're not gonna slide, buddy. Nintendo, why did you give both of these guys the exact same name? King Rauru, the Goat Man, and King, and not King, Sage Rauru of the Sage of Light from Ocarina of Time. At least with the other characters that share the same name, say Impa, could possibly come from the same family line. That's just confusing to longtime fans. Point number 5, the villain. Look, I am as happy as any other Zelda fan to see the franchise villain Ganondorf return to the games to clash swords with his mortal foe yet again. But from the 90s, fans of the franchise know that Ganondorf and Ganon are the same being. I mean, who could forget the moment when Ganondorf emerged from the rubble of his castle in Ocarina of Time to transform the Dark Beast Ganon, and transformed again into Beast Ganon in Ocarina's spiritual successor, the Twilight Princess. In Breath of the Wild, the dialogue acknowledges this fact. Urbosa, take it away!
It was written that Calamity Ganon once adopted the form of a Gerudo. And that will make this victory all the more satisfying. I like that. Now I can take this personally.
Like, come on, Nintendo, this was a layup! The connection between the zombie in the basement and the wild boar apparition could have been Ganondorf's powers seeping out and manifesting itself as Calamity Ganon. But even if you say that, then the lore of the Divine Beasts comes into question. Divine Beasts were created to help the princess and the hero defeat Calamity Ganon, which makes quite a paradox. So which came first? Ganondorf or Calamity Ganon? It's weird. All to say, Tears of the Kingdom is absolutely astounding as a standalone game because of the success of Breath of the Wild, but not as a successive narrative. But what about my multiverse? Hey, an excellent question, past IronBriggz. I am present IronBriggz as of mid-October of this year. Okay, so I'm looking at this timeline, right? First of all, Breath of the Wild is not on this timeline at all. Okay? Point number 2 about the timeline. Tears of the Kingdom is not on here at all either. But, I mean, look at Tears of the Kingdom, right? You redefine the origins of Hyrule being the Zonai? Yes, the Zonai, right? But then again, that's completely contradicting the origin story of Skyward Sword. Come on, Nintendo, we're waiting. Or as I'm finding out, Nintendo commonly operates on the mechanics first, then story basis, and that's how they do most of their games, including, but limited to, The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario. Which, I mean, Mario gets a pass because they're not claiming there's a timeline. They're not claiming a multiverse, as far as I know. I'm looking at the bottom of Hyrule's Decline and The Last Hero. There's the Sealing War, Triforce using Monarchy, and the tragedy of Zelda 1. What the? Christianity? In Zelda? If you're interested in seeing my connections I made to the samurai, to the Christian knight, to Legend of Zelda, check out this video below. In the meantime, stay beautiful, and I'll see you on the next video.